Hello, history enthusiasts. Today we're stepping back in time to medieval Europe, a period stretching from the 5th to the 15th centuries. Imagine a world vastly different from our own. The medieval era was a time of knights and castles, of peasants and plagues. It was a time when the landscape was dotted with fortified structures and the air was filled with the sounds of blacksmiths hammering away in their forges. Forget cars and electricity, life revolved around the seasons, the land, and a strict social order. The majority of people were peasants working the land to provide for their families and pay taxes to their lords. Farming was the backbone of medieval society, and the success of crops could mean the difference between feast and famine. We'll explore the lives of ordinary people who toiled from dawn till dusk, their lives governed by the rhythms of nature and the demands of their feudal lords. Markets were bustling centres of trade where villagers would gather to buy and sell goods, share news and socialise. The powerful grip of the church, which played a central role in daily life. The church was not just a place of worship, but a powerful institution that influenced every aspect of life, from birth to death. Monasteries were centres of learning and preservation of knowledge, while cathedrals stood as magnificent testaments to the faith and artistry of the time. And the devastating impact of the Black Death. This deadly pandemic swept through Europe in the 14th century, wiping out a significant portion of the population. The Black Death brought about profound social and economic changes, shaking the very foundations of medieval society. Get ready for a fascinating journey through castles, cathedrals, and the lives of knights in shining armor. These warriors were bound by the code of chivalry, and their tales of bravery and honor have echoed through the ages. Castles were not just military fortresses, but also homes to noble families, centers of administration and symbols of power, and the challenges of medieval life. From the hard labor of peasants to the intricate politics of the nobility, medieval life was a complex tapestry of hardship and resilience. Join us as we delve into this captivating era, uncovering the stories and struggles that shaped the medieval world. For the vast majority of people in medieval Europe, life meant hard work, from dawn till dusk. These were the peasants who made up about 90% of the population. Their lives revolved around farming. Men, women, and even children labored in the fields, growing crops like wheat and barley. They lived in simple villages, their homes built of wood and thatch. Life was tough, food could be scarce, and illness was common. At the top of the social ladder were the nobility. Lords and ladies enjoyed a life of luxury and power. They lived in grand castles surrounded by servants and entertainment. Their days were filled with hunting, feasting, and managing their estates. Ladies played important roles in managing households and raising children. They were also expected to be skilled in embroidery and music. Protecting the realm were the knights, skilled warriors who served their lords. They trained from a young age in swordsmanship, horsemanship, and the code of chivalry. Chivalry emphasized bravery, loyalty, and honor. Knights were expected to defend the weak, protect the church, and fight for their king. They participated in jousts and tournaments, showcasing their skills and courage. The church was the heart of medieval life. It provided spiritual guidance, education, and even healthcare. People attended church regularly, seeking solace and celebrating religious holidays. Monasteries and convents were centers of learning, preserving ancient texts and educating future generations. The church's influence extended to every aspect of life, shaping morals, values, and even politics. Section 6. The feudal pyramid, a system of order. Medieval society was organized under a system called feudalism. This system was the backbone of medieval life, shaping the social, economic, and political landscape of the time. It was a complex web of relationships and obligations that ensured everyone knew their place and role within the society. Think of it as a pyramid. This pyramid was not just a simple hierarchy, but a detailed structure where each level had its own responsibilities and privileges. The higher you were on the pyramid, the more power and wealth you had, but also more responsibilities. At the top was the king, who granted land to his most important lords in exchange for loyalty and military service. The king was the ultimate authority, but he relied heavily on his lords to maintain control over the vast territories. These lords in turn granted smaller portions of land to lesser lords, and so on down to the knights. Each level of the pyramid had its own set of duties and expectations. The lords were responsible for providing military support to the king, while the knights were expected to protect the land and its people. At the bottom were the peasants who worked the land, providing food and labor in exchange for protection. The peasants, though at the lowest rung of the pyramid, were crucial for the sustenance of the entire system. They toiled day and night, ensuring that the upper classes had the resources they needed to maintain their power and lifestyle. This system of order created a stable yet rigid society where everyone had a specific role to play. Castles and manors were the centers of power, while markets and villages were the hubs of daily life. The feudal system, despite its inequalities, provided a sense of security and order in a time of frequent wars and invasions. The church also played a significant role in this system, often owning large tracts of land and influencing both the spiritual and temporal aspects of life. Monks and priests were integral in maintaining the moral and educational fabric of society, further reinforcing the hierarchical structure. Festivals and communal gatherings were common, providing a break from the daily grind and reinforcing social bonds. These events were not just for entertainment, but also served as reminders of the social order and the interconnectedness of all levels of the feudal pyramid. Records and documents from the time show the intricate details of feudal contracts and obligations, highlighting the importance of written agreements in maintaining this system of order. Scribes and scholars were essential in documenting and preserving these agreements, ensuring that the system functioned smoothly. In essence, the feudal pyramid was a system of order that defined medieval life. It was a world where everyone had a place, and every place had a purpose, creating a structured yet interdependent society that lasted for centuries. Section 7. The Black Death arrives, a continent in crisis. In the mid-14th century, a terrifying plague swept through Europe, known as the Black Death. It was a devastating pandemic that killed millions. People were terrified as the disease spread rapidly, causing agonizing symptoms and swift death. The Black Death had a catastrophic impact on medieval society. Towns and villages were decimated, fields were left untended, and trade collapsed. It was a time of immense suffering and loss. Section 8. Death's Aftermath. A changing world. The Black Death, despite its horrors, brought about significant changes. With so many dead, labor became scarce. Peasants found themselves in a stronger position, able to demand better wages and conditions. The feudal system, already weakening, began to crumble. The Black Death also led to a decline in the authority of the church, as people questioned why God had allowed such suffering. Section 9. Shaping History, the Enduring Legacy. Medieval Europe was a period of profound change and contrast. It was a time when the old ways of life were being challenged and new ideas were beginning to take root. The medieval period, spanning roughly from the 5th to the late 15th century, saw the rise and fall of empires, the spread of religions, and the birth of nations. It was a time of knights and castles, of peasants and plagues, of art and architecture that still captivate our imaginations today, from the hardship of peasant life, where the majority of the population toiled in the fields from dawn till dusk, barely scraping by, to the bustling markets where merchants traded goods from distant lands. The medieval world was one of stark contrasts. Peasants lived in simple thatched roof cottages, their lives dictated by the seasons and the whims of their lords. Yet, despite the hardships, there was a sense of community and shared purpose that bound them together. To the grandeur of castles, towering fortresses that dotted the landscape, symbols of power and protection. These castles were not just military strongholds, but also centers of administration and hubs of social life. Within their walls, lords and ladies held court, feasted and entertained guests. The architecture of these castles, with their imposing walls, drawbridges and moats, was designed to withstand sieges and project authority. It was a world both familiar and strikingly different from our own. The medieval towns, with their narrow, winding streets and bustling marketplaces, were centers of trade and commerce. Guilds regulated the trades, ensuring quality and fair prices. The town squares were places of gathering where news was shared and justice was meted out. Yet, amidst the familiarity, there were also elements that seem foreign to us today, such as the strict social hierarchies and the pervasive influence of the church. The Black Death, though a horrific tragedy, decimated the population, wiping out nearly a third of Europe's inhabitants. This catastrophic event had far-reaching consequences, leading to labor shortages and social upheaval. The plague forced people to question long-held beliefs and traditions, ultimately contributing to the decline of the feudal system and the rise of a more modern, market-based economy. Ultimately, it helped to transform medieval society, paving the way for the Renaissance and the modern world. The Renaissance, a period of renewed interest in art, science, and the classical knowledge of ancient Greece and Rome, was a direct result of the changes that began in the medieval period. Innovations in agriculture, technology, and trade during the medieval era laid the groundwork for the advancements of the Renaissance, paving the way for the Renaissance and the modern world. The thinkers and artists of the Renaissance, such as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, drew inspiration from the medieval period, blending the old with the new to create works of enduring beauty and significance. The transition from the medieval to the modern world was not abrupt, but rather a gradual evolution, with each period building upon the achievements of the previous one. So the next time you read a fairy tale about knights and princesses, remember the real history behind those stories. The tales of chivalry and romance, of brave knights and fair maidens, are rooted in the realities of medieval life. While the stories may be embellished, they reflect the values and aspirations of the time, offering a glimpse into a world that, though distant, still resonates with us today. Remember the real history behind those stories. The medieval period, with its rich tapestry of events and characters, continues to be a source of fascination and inspiration. The manuscripts and documents that have survived offer us a window into the past, allowing us to piece together the lives and experiences of those who lived centuries ago. Medieval Europe, with all its complexities and contradictions, was a time of both great achievement and profound struggle. It was a period that shaped the course of history, leaving an enduring legacy that we continue to explore and understand. The stories of medieval Europe are not just tales of the past, but are woven into the fabric of our present, influencing our culture, our institutions, and our way of life. Continues to fascinate and inspire us today. From reenactments and festivals to books and movies, the medieval period remains a vibrant part of our cultural imagination. It reminds us of where we have come from and how far we have journeyed, offering lessons and insights that are still relevant in our modern world. The enduring legacy of medieval Europe is a testament to the resilience and creativity of the human spirit.